Welcome to Motherhood and Singlehood podcast. This podcast is about breaking the stereotype of single moms, is to help you navigate motherhood while being single, and is about reminding you who you are as a person behind all the labels you take on. Your hosts are Dawn, Kali, Leila, and Christina. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to the Motherhood and Singlehood podcast. This is our first episode. Very excited about it. I'm going to introduce a little bit how the idea came into fruition. I thought of doing this episode after I had so many chats with you lovely ladies. It was just something that helped me with coping with being a single mom, and whenever you are feeling anxious and you're questioning what you're doing and guilting yourself into that as well. So I had just like a brief idea in October last year. I mentioned it to Kali. She said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But I didn't thought of it until literally the 1st of January this year, when I woke up with, this feeling of we're doing it. And now we're doing it. We're here. And it's really lovely. This episode, we're going to talk about starting over, but this time with a child. So it's going to be like an introduction to being single and being a mom. And I just want to ask you, ladies, can you pinpoint when you first realized you are a single mom and you have to do it all by yourself? Did you know, or just
from the beginning?
From the beginning. Let's talk about it from the very beginning.
I gave birth.
Yes. Well, actually, maybe we should introduce ourselves first.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead, Dawn.
Me, okay. So my name's Dawn, and am I supposed to look at the camera?
Or whatever you feel like.
So my name's Dawn, and I have two children. I have two boys. One is 6 and one is 3. I'm a single mum, obviously. I've been a single mum since my youngest was 4 months old. And it's been quite a journey. What else can I say?
I think we should mention you're a yoga teacher.
Okay. Yeah.
What you're doing.
So I qualified to be a yoga teacher 3 years ago, but obviously when I become a single mum, all that was put on the back burner. But now I am a yoga teacher. I run my own business, and I've just started up women's circles as well. So.
And we're very proud of that.
Very proud.
Kali?
Callie. I've been in the UK for 2.5 years. I have a son, just one my baby. He is 7 years old. And I've been single for about 5 years. Time has flown. Really, really.
And what are you doing?
So, my background is hospitality. I've lived in different countries, but coming here just to find a balance, being single and a mom. So I got into the educational field, and it's very rewarding. I feel great. I feel balanced towards my son, towards our routine, and also my own gratification in a personal level. So,
Leila?
Yeah, my name is Leila, and I'm 25 years old. I'm joking. I'm 39. I'm a mom of 2. I've got a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I work at hospitality at the moment because of the, balancing work and kids. And I've been single for a year.
All right. And I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Christina. I have a son. He is 7 years old. I've been a single mom for 7 years old, co-parenting. And I look after babies in the night. So I work nights and I have days on my hands to do whatever I want, mostly sleeping.
At the moment, yeah.
Yes. So what we're going to talk about, like I mentioned before, is starting over. So when did you knew you're going to have to do this by yourself, or... I love that. So we have kids around sometimes. So.
Of course.
Because you can't have 4 single moms with no kids.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So yeah. Okay, so.
You want me to start?
If you want.
When did I first realise?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've actually been a single mum twice over. So with my first son, my 6-year-old, I became single when he was 2, and then his dad and I got back together like when he was 4. So I was single for 2 years with a 2-year-old, which was fine actually. With one child, I found it fairly easy. I mean, not fairly easy. I mean, it's still, especially when you're a new mum, it's still quite it's quite daunting, and it's kind of quite stressful trying to balance everything. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but find that kind of like life balance of who you are and being a mum at the same time. So that kind of all was put on the back burner for me. I just kind of went into mum mode, and then my son's dad and I, we got back together, and then we had another child just before lockdown. And when Finn turned 4 months old, I became a single mum again.
And how was that decision? Like, did you went from like, I'm having 2 kids with my partner, and tomorrow I'm gonna be single?
No, it was always, I think it was always on the cards, to be honest with you, always on the horizon. Finn wasn't planned, so it, it wasn't like we were making plans like that together. Yeah, so split up when Finn was 4 months old, and to be honest with you, I kind of knew it was going to go that way anyway from when I fell pregnant the second time round, because there was so much I saw second time round in the relationship that was history repeating from having my first child, and I just took that decision to put my children first and put myself first, and not put my second child through what I had mum guilt over putting my first child through. So it was a clear-cut decision for me, honestly. I was quite fierce about it. I knew in my heart, I felt 100% sure at that time. Obviously, I softened a little bit after that. I mean, I just had a 4-month-old baby.
Yeah,
4-month-old baby, you know.
You were all in
But
your
at
hormones
the time,
as well.
I was like,
hormones,
this
yeah.
is, this is right. This is the right decision, 100%.
Yeah.
And Kali, I think.
For us, I think before like the separation and after he left, there was a rift. There was a rift, underlying rift, and I think around when he was 2.5, 3, and that's when at one point it came to the point that it became unbearable, completely disconnected. He had left from the house, so I said, you know what, let's move. And I took my son. We went to the States, and after COVID or around COVID, we decided to come here, and that was the first time we had to face the status of our relationship, how we're co-parenting in the same city, and in somewhere in the meantime, we did try to kind of rekindle. It didn't work out, and that's when after the second time and many hard lessons and realizations, decision that that's it. It's me and my son.
You can't force something, isn't it?
No, you can't force something. You can't try to disguise it or just be selective. You have to be real, to just completely real with yourself, and be brave, like the way you say your decisions. Like, this is it. It's clear cut, as painful it is, but I'm gonna go through it. What about you, Leila?
Me, I was in a relationship for 17 years with my boy's dad, and after the first we had the first child, everything went kind of downhill, because attention was all on the baby, and so after I think a couple of years, I knew it that it's not gonna work. But I keep going, mom and dad. For me, I always lived in a fantasy world of everything's supposed to be Disney, everything's supposed to be romantic.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, I remember once we had a little argument, and he said to me, Leila, wake up, life is not Disney. And I was like, why can't it be? We have a roof over our head, we've got, beautiful baby, and we are fine, we're healthy. And he was like, well, it's not, wake up.
Yeah.
And I still didn't get it until we had the second child, for sake of the first one, and thinking the relationship's gonna be better, and everything went even worse.
Yeah.
Like Dawn said, it was, history was repeating itself.
Yeah.
The communication was bad, and it felt like I was putting 100% and wasn't getting anything back. So yeah, and then I decided, when I think it was over a year ago, that I had enough. I lived once. I don't want my kids to go through it. I don't want myself to go through it, and we can be happy parents separately and bring up our kids.
Like Leila said before, it's knowing you gave everything you had, which was the case with me.
Yeah.
When I made the decision to have a divorce, it was basically, I was there. I had given everything I had for 10 years. I also thought for a whole month if I should do this step or not. But it was mostly thinking of, how is this going to affect me and Albert later in life?
Yeah.
Like if I make the decision to stay and later in 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, things are going to happen again. I didn't want Albert to suffer that
Exactly.
separation of mom and dad.
Just
and,
because of your decision.
yes. And I decided not to tell my family at that point. I wanted the decision to be just for myself, by myself. And I think it was the best decision because Albert is a happy child and he also knows only mom's house and dad's house.
Yes.
And he's very happy like that. And he, of course, he did had his questions about why we don't live in the same house at one point. And I just told him this is how it is. He's a child. He doesn't need to know more. But it was that decision. And you have to make a firm decision. It's not, it is about being brave because it's hard. You have a child. It's not just you. It's not like you're picking up your bag and go start over.
A child,
Well,
your life changes,
But
everything.
just on that note, anyway, it was, for me, it was kind of like, it was an easy decision in a sense because with the absence of their dad, I felt like nothing had changed.
Yes.
Because I was still
Yes.
doing
Yeah.
everything that
Yeah.
I was doing when he was there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's also
Yeah,
another
so-
thing. You have to evaluate, right? Like how much is he contributing to this life that you're having?
I did miss a lot. I still am, but not for me, for the kids. We used to have like so many days out, or if we needed something, it would be there. Now I'm, obviously I never struggled like this before. Now I have to think twice, or I have to say no to them,
Yes.
which I haven't done
And
before.
that's on being a single mom.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
struggle a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you start with
You know?
from the financial point of
Yeah.
view, right? Like, because
Yeah.
that's where it actually splits. It's
Yeah.
not two incomes anymore. It's just one.
Yeah.
It's not as much as you want to because you can't pick up as many hours at
Absolutely.
work.
And like Dawn said, it depends how much they contribute. And he used to be actually quite hands-on dad, and playtime with the boys and going to their level and play toys with them or taking them out and stuff like that. So for me, being on my own, I go to work, I come home, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
of course.
they'd be lucky to get dinner from me.
well,
Order a pizza.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So that's how it was. We do miss him as a dad being there, but for me, when people say, because they couldn't believe 17 years, they're like, how is this possible? You're together 17 years and then just like that, and especially because from outside everyone thought everything was so rosy.
Yeah. Well, it's
It's
always
always
the
like
case.
that.
It's
Yeah.
always the case because obviously you don't put your dirty laundry out there for
It
people
is
to
that,
know.
and
not only that,
especially-
as certain people make an extra effort to even make
Yeah.
it look
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
complete opposite.
Yeah.
Not
And you
just
also
neutral.
behave differently when you go out as a
Absolutely.
couple. Like we used to go with
Yeah.
our friends, like couples, right?
Yeah.
So obviously we would have a different dynamic.
Yeah.
Not that it was bad in the house.
No.
It was actually I didn't know until I knew.
Especially if those two people are decent people, they are good
Yeah.
people, but
Yeah.
they just don't work out.
For us was a mix because
Yeah.
I think it's more of a win him not being around because and obviously
Yeah.
Elias
Yeah.
misses him
Yeah.
obviously. But it's more peaceful, and I think this is where I'm like, okay, peace above
Yeah.
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And for us, it was Yeah, it was a mix. It was never consistent, unfortunately. There were times that he was hands-on, and there were a lot of times that
Everyone's
he wasn't,
different.
and he was
Yeah.
absent.
Yeah.
So, and it was, for me, making the decision and coming to realization, okay, this is how our life is going to be moving forward was very difficult. I was always like, he needs his dad, but at the same time, does it do him, it's
Yeah.
just so many
Yeah.
things, like
Yeah.
you have to contemplate so many things. It's,
Yeah.
Well, I feel bad for I feel bad for the kids. And when people say, oh, when I say we broke up, they don't know, and they're, oh, I'm so sorry, and I hate that, because I'm
Yeah.
like, actually,
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I'm good.
happier.
I don't want you to
good.
feel
Why are you sorry
sorry.
about
Yeah,
that?
but
sorry.
I'm happier,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mentally,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
happier.
like no one died.
Yeah. Mentally,
Just
I'm happier. I feel free. I actually feel happier for him because I don't think he was in the right relationship. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel still sad for the boys.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a
I
sadness overlaying, I
Yeah,
think.
and I think
there
that
is.
kind of plays out, doesn't it? As
Yeah.
they get older and they start asking questions
Yeah.
and they start having this realisation that mummy and daddy aren't together. And I think that comes from being at school and being around other parents and seeing
That
the
are,
different
yes.
dynamics.
Especially with my
Of
older
that.
one, you know.
I mean, Bray said to me the other day, we were having a conversation, he said, are you and daddy married? And I said, no. I don't know where this has come from.
Yeah. It's just not. Albert was asking me when he was
Yeah.
3.
So I said no, and daddy will get a girlfriend one day and mummy will get a boyfriend. And he literally burst into tears. He
Cute.
was
Aw.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
ready
Yeah.
for this.
Where did it
like,
came from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
They
Yeah.
surprise
got
you.
to-
Yeah.
I think for
So
us it helped. They are thinking about it, right? For us it helped that Albert's dad has a partner, and she's great with Albert, and she has 3 daughters, right? So Albert has siblings there. But he would still come and ask me, why aren't you and dad in the same house, right? So I said, oh, this is how it works. Sometimes grown-ups, the relationships don't work out,
Yeah.
and it is how it is.
We still love you the same.
Yes. So he doesn't, he knows how it is, but he still has questions. He even, I've been single for 7 years, right? I did go on dates, but I never had a serious relationship because I didn't want it one. My focus is on Albert and myself. But he would ask me, he would say to me, can you get a boyfriend so we can have a baby brother or a baby sister? Because
Yeah, I've heard that one too.
siblings.
Yeah.
He wants to be a big brother, right? And now he's the youngest one because all the sisters are older,
Yeah, I
right?
think our situation is
It's just
different
so
because it's 2 of
innocent,
them.
isn't it?
They're so
They're
innocent.
so innocent. The other day, he was telling me, "Can you just love daddy for a little bit so we get a baby brother, and then we can go back to normal?" I was like, "I can't, I really can't." And they ask all kind of questions. He would ask me "Were you married with daddy? Did he loved you?" I was like,
Yeah,
and
did you love
you're
him?
in that
Where-
point,
yeah,
And I
yeah,
said
yeah.
we loved each other very much. We've been together for 10 years, and I really loved him. We really loved each other. I think, right, from my point of view. But you get to that point where I remember saying this to him once we were married in the car, and I said, I think we would be very good friends. Because it was that type of relationship. We would tell each other
Yeah, yeah.
everything.
I've had a few of those relationships.
Yeah. But it's just even back when I was married, I didn't see myself with him for the rest of my life. For some reason, I was because the whole year that we were married, actually, before we got married, the whole year until the wedding, I kept on telling him maybe we shouldn't get married.
Wow.
Maybe we should just live because we
wow.
lived together
And
for
that was
5 years
Yeah, for
before.
5 years, yeah. But it just didn't sit you well to make this.
What happened? When we because in Romania you have to have all the wedding preparations in advance, a whole year you have to book stuff, right? Before. And the first time we booked our wedding, his dad passed away a month before. And obviously we canceled everything because no one was in the mood to, and he had such a good relationship with his dad. So we booked for the next year. But that whole year I was like, maybe this is a sign. Maybe we shouldn't get married. Maybe, you're thinking of, and I believe in signs. And I believe in my instinct. And my instinct was don't get married. You don't
Your
have to
gut
get
feeling
married. Yeah,
was
my
like,
gut
yeah.
feeling was don't get
It
married.
never lies. That's the thing. If you're in tune
never
with
lies,
it,
yeah.
right? The gut feeling. Most of the time, it's something that we are not connected anymore, right,
Yeah.
Todd? Because you're a yoga teacher and very connected with our intuition
But
and
it's hard
spirituality.
as well when you're in a relationship because there's all these other factors.
Yeah.
There's the factors of how long you've been in the relationship. Oh, it was so amazing when we first met, and you hold on to those memories.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when children come along, it just doubles.
Yeah.
That kind of that feeling that you're meant to be together.
Pressure.
We've got children together. We're meant to be together. you know.
Yeah. Going back to the Disney movies, I strongly believe they don't do us any good.
Yeah.
Those like fairy tales.
No.
I know.
The prince comes and kisses you and you get married. Like,
And
if a guy
saves
comes on the
you.
street and kisses me now, I'll smack the shit out of him. I'm like, what you doing? You know? And then in real life, you wouldn't do the things that,
No.
you know, it happens in the movies.
No.
You wouldn't put up with it. You won't even
Quite like to be
the
Cinderella.
idea.
Yeah.
No, I think I liked, what's
don't
her
know
name?
about
Like
that.
Anna from Frozen. Is
Oh,
was she
yeah.
the
yeah.
queen?
Yeah.
So
Like you
she's-
don't.
She's a bit of a badass.
She's got a little line where she says you don't marry the first guy that kisses you or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's true.
No,
That is
it's
so
just
true.
I always lived in a fantasy world. I always have like, you know, thinking what I'm thinking, everyone else thinking the same.
You're just a romantic at heart.
Yeah,
And
she's
I don't think
peaceful.
it's
She's
fantasy.
optimistic.
Same as
Like
the
you try to see
situations,
it,
yeah.
you know, half full,
Yeah,
full
yeah,
rather
yeah.
than half
Exactly.
empty. You know what I mean?
I think
That's
we
the
all
way
have
you
this
see that.
ideal, don't we? That we just, you know, it's not fantasy. We just want to, you know, we want to meet someone. We want to fall in love. We want to have children.
Loyalty.
We want to build this family and this life together. And I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything wrong with that at all.
No, but it's yeah.
It
And
just
you-
proves
and-
wrong.
And
The
you're willing to
reality
put.
is what comes with that is you know, when you come into a relationship, maybe this is for another podcast, but when you come into a relationship, you have your trigger points, your partner has their trigger points, and it's about working through those
Yes.
together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't, that's when
Breaks down.
it starts to break down.
I think we also don't know how to be in relationships.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like a long
No, we
process.
don't.
Which you learn. I learned
we're
more
not
about
taught.
my relationship after my divorce
Yeah,
than
same.
when I
Than
was
when
actually
you were
having a
in it.
relationship.
Same,
Absolutely.
same.
And you know,
And more about
you
yourself.
don't have to be a mother, really. do you?
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
based on
About yourself,
instinct.
yeah.
But no one tells you that. Like my parents didn't sit me down and say, "Hey, so when you've got a partner, you know, you both have to come halfway, or you have to let
Yeah.
go sometimes, or you know,
Yeah.
if he likes something,
Yeah.
you should do it at least once a month with him, just so you know, or if you like something, he should do it with you." Like we don't have that.
I don't know, even if we had it, we probably still do what we do, because like for example, I had it growing up. My dad was like giving me this little, you know, tips and advice, and I just when I did
Yeah, but you
what
didn't
I
have it as well
wanted
in
to do.
practice, right? In your
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
My parents would sit down and talk hours with my dad
Yeah.
and, you know, give me advice. But if you're not, you actually
you're in it.
observe what you see in front of, and a lot of in front of you, what you grow up with, a lot of dysfunctionality in my selections that I had in partners, or how much did I compromise, how much did I give from myself,
Yeah.
how short did I sell myself, or
Yeah.
Yes.
or what did I put up with? That
Yeah.
was what I grew up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But also
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
flip side of that as well, if you're like a person that that always jumps ship from the relationship, like me, that was me. And then when I got into a relationship with my children's dad, I started to recognise that. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, and thank God I've started to recognise things about myself at this point. But I think that just comes naturally anyway. You become more curious about who you are. So I recognised that, so I stayed, and that was one of the reasons as well why I stayed, because I was like, you know, make it work, work.
I don't want to
make
do
it work.
this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. That's the thing. Making
but
it
it's-
work
yeah,
and
kind of-
No. You
putting
can't
the work
force
for
it.
whatever we're
No,
gonna
you
make
can't
it
force
good
it.
for the sake of our family. All these ideals that you have.
It's also hard to just leave a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I mean,
It's
not
like,
for some people.
You have to make it work. Like my parents are still together, right? They've been together for 40 years. I'm sure there are moments in time where they didn't like each other. You know,
That's
it's like
normal.
that's
That's
natural.
natural.
isn't it?
most of the
There
time.
are times
yeah.
I don't like my kids.
But you know, we're kids, it gets you distracted.
Yeah.
You know,
But
Yeah.
if the respect is there and the
Yes.
trust is there, if
Yeah.
you've
Yes.
got that,
You get
that-
through it.
that like
The base, the
what do you call it?
foundation.
the
Yes.
foundation.
Yes.
That's so
Yes.
important.
Also,
So
yeah.
you can, you know, you go into a relationship, you can hate things about people, but
True.
you can look at them at the end of the day and say, I love you regardless, and I still respect you. And
Yeah.
And I always say it's like
Yeah.
what do you call it? I forgot. The scale. You know, you put
Yeah.
the positives in one and
Yeah.
negatives, and if the positives are really heavy, it's hard to leave it.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think what you said, Dawn, this was it for me. I lost my trust and my respect for him.
Yeah.
And for me, even like to
That's
this
it.
day, I can't be in any relationship if I don't trust you and I don't respect you. Because what else?
Oh, it's
You
the
know?
most important thing
Yeah.
than love. That's
And
more
communication.
important than
Absolutely.
love. Oh,
No, but
communication.
I mean,
Absolutely.
girl, I have days
Communication.
where my ex-husband would be upset with me because I turn off the TV or I change the channel, he wouldn't talk to me for like 3 days.
Wow.
Not even
You
hi.
see?
I'm
That-
like, it was
that's-
so quiet in the house.
That is the thing. That's the thing I
Wow.
have. Not communicating and just being in the mood and just that's it. You know,
Yeah.
for something. And for us, it's like it feels like I've done something wrong.
Yeah.
I have to keep going. And what's the problem? What's the matter?
Yeah.
What's going
I mean,
on?
I did something wrong.
Try
I changed
to
the
fix
channel,
it.
girl.
Yeah, but you didn't. You didn't. In reality, you didn't.
I'm like, come
In
on.
reality, you didn't. But no, it's just the not knowing, and that person don't want to communicate with you and
Yeah.
be on the same page as you. Very
Yeah,
hard.
and some people don't know how to communicate. So I think that's what it is. I just you know when you had enough, right?
Yes.
You tried your communications, you tried your patience, you tried your forgiveness, you tried everything. But when it's done, it's done. Now, for me, being a single mom, in a sense, it's easy, right? Like Albert, right now, he's with his dad until tomorrow. Mostly weekends, he's with him. And I've got my free time. And even if he's with me, I've got my parents living with me.
Yeah.
So I can always
How
say...
lucky.
Dash
like,
out an hour, go wherever for
yeah,
class
exactly.
or
I can always do
something.
that. Also, in the summers or when it's half term, he's going to Romania and he's spending time there with my brother and his wife and their baby and my grandma, you know. So I feel like this works for me. Like, I'm good.
Which is completely opposite
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's completely. I don't have that luxury. Not that I'm complaining. There's
No,
times
no,
it can
no,
be
but it's hard.
frustrating. But for example, I would have loved, to attend your session more than anything. Last night, it was just a beautiful thing that
Yeah.
attracts me, and I have so much need of it. But it's hard
It's
when
hard.
you're 99% with the kid. You don't
Yeah.
have that. Someone you can rely on, and I'm okay. I've come to terms with that's my life.
No,
that's
yeah,
my life.
but-
And eventually he's gonna grow
Yeah.
up, and
Don't worry,
Yeah,
his
there's gonna
problems
be-
would grow with
Be a teenager, you can leave him in the house.
I'm not looking forward to that, but
Trust me, I
you
already
know what
have
I
it.
mean, right?
I already
No,
have
the
one.
other thing with that though, Carly, just listening to, like, it's one thing to have like your free time, and then it's another thing because I feel like it's about balancing all of your time, not just your free time. It's like, how do you go to work? The hours that you pick that fit in around the
Oh,
school
gosh.
hours.
Yeah.
You know, it falls on you. It falls on you totally because you don't have the same luxuries that you have, for example. But you know, when you go into, when you become a single mum, these are all the things that you kind of have to consider. And if you haven't got that balance with the co-parenting, it is all on your shoulders, really.
Absolutely.
And that's what
Absolutely.
makes it harder, actually,
Yeah.
being a single mum.
Yeah.
Is finding that balance.
That-
if there
I
isn't.
find it very
Yeah.
hard as
Yeah.
well, yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's all it comes down to. There's so many things to balance at the same time. So many, whether the finances is your time, is how you spend your time. How do you, as a single parent, do you school your child? How do you when do you discipline and how do you discipline? It's all everything's a balance,
Yeah.
you know.
When are you a mom? When are you a dad?
When
right?
Yeah.
exactly, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the point, absolutely.
So I think what most
when
of us...
when you gotta be tough, because moms tend to be like the sweet. You're the strict one. Are you that? When do you pull? When do you let go? When do you release? When do you
Well, every mum that I know, anyway, has managed. Yeah,
Oh,
is
yeah,
managing.
yeah.
We dig deep. We find a way.
Yes.
Don't we? We find a way.
Yes, but I was talking about our friend Lee. Lee, she's a child psychologist. We're going to have her as a guest in the podcast. But she was saying to me this week, for a single mom, it's not hard to do everything by yourself. It's hard to ask for help.
Yeah,
You know,
were telling
because
me
you
that.
can do anything you want. Like, I
Absolutely.
literally put my shelves in the bathroom by myself. I bought all the tools, put the holes in, put the shelves. I can do anything I want to. But asking for help, it's so hard for me.
So hard.
And it's not because I don't think I'm worthy of help, but it's just because I'm so used to doing things by
That's the
myself.
thing. When
you know?
you're in that mode, in your more in your masculine power, where you have to get
Yes.
things done, deliver
a
deliver
pride.
results.
Yeah,
Like
it is,
you
like a
you
pride.
become used to that.
It's almost because you know you can count on yourself.
Yeah.
Because you counted on yourself so many times and you didn't disappoint yourself in some sense,
Yeah, but I think
you
you
know?
kind of go on autopilot as well. So you don't even think about asking
No.
for help.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
go
do it,
go
don't
for,
you?
go
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
For me, it was hard to
Try to
ask
tackle.
Kali to pick up Albert from school.
Yeah. The
I
first
was like,
time?
the first time.
Yeah, and I remember
like,
when
But
you
I'm the same
messaged
way,
me when
yeah.
Bray was sick and said, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "No, it's fine."
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah.
I'm like,
same.
Layla was the same. And this happened
Same.
like
And
2
now I'm
weeks
like,
ago,
Kristen.
right? But for me, what it was, and I told Layla, because she asked for my help, I helped her, and then she was like, "Oh my gosh," I think she said, "I have to give you something." I was like, "What do you mean you have to give me something?"
Yeah.
It's like just say thank you, go in the house, look after yourself. You're
Yeah,
sick. You don't
I
need to
know.
think of something else.
Did
You
I
know.
pay you for that? I didn't. Do you know, I thought about that last night. And I was giving you the money.
No, it's because I bought her some soup. That's why she said
I
it.
was
Unbelievable.
telling
Soup did you buy her?
Sansa.
Chicken soup.
I
Yeah.
was explaining you.
Yeah.
to-
I love soup.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I was like,
how like you're so giving, and when
Oh,
Brand
yeah.
is sick, and
Yeah.
you,
So
you know, I just
generous.
asked for chicken soup, and she come around with strawberries and raspberries.
What are you doing? Last year, you remember when I had COVID? Not she. Did
I
you?
made you the soup.
She made me the soup.
Ah.
She didn't buy a big pot like this.
and when I was ill, she
With
came
cream.
to the door with 2 bottles of homemade.
But I feel
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
the
tea,
juices,
the tea.
you did that for me
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is
So cute.
that is like I mean, if you're a single mum and you're
Means the world.
planning to become a single mum, you need that. You need that community around you.
Friends
you need that group
or-
of friends
yeah.
that are
Yeah.
there, have got your back
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Because I never had that.
Yeah.
I never had that. I didn't have friends. I've lived in this area for like 7 years now, and I never had that. And
Yeah.
and that's where I felt I struggled the most.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's nice to know now that you can reach out to.
So true.
But
I
this
said-
is
yeah.
my way of showing that I actually care. You know, this is how I always done it, right? If I want to show someone that I care, I just get them something.
And yeah, you know, you stop your condition and you stop thinking as a I, me, myself. You
Who am
think
I?
as
You're
we.
we,
We. It's always we, and because you want to keep the pieces, you want to the peace, sorry, and you want to satisfy and do. Come out of your
What
way.
please them, yeah.
What pleases them, and you're the one who's always doing the sacrifices and the concessions. You know what I mean? So
I think most women do that. Most women put themselves
it's more in our
on the back
nature. Yeah,
burner,
we're more like motherly, nurturing.
Yeah, but then again, you want another baby or a partner. You know, like you need a man to step up. And I have like a really cute story about that with our friend Lee. And after she had the second baby, I think, because her husband is great, right? And she said to him at one point, look, Dave, I'm sorry, you know, I know we don't spend enough time together. And he's like, don't worry, I got this covered. Like, I'll make sure we spend enough time together. You look after the babies, you know? And you know, you'll feel like, okay, so there are men who think like that and do understand,
Yeah.
right? And then you've got this whole other section of men who are like, wait, but I need my attention.
Yeah.
But no, I'm happy that we can look back and laugh about it. Although we did have session like yesterday where we just cry about it.
I think we need all of those.
Yeah, I think we do. And I'm not a big
So true.
crier. Like, I
You know
rarely
that.
cry.
I'm so shocked that you said you were. I said she cried, and I
I
would have been
was shocked.
bawling.
You were shocked.
You
And I
definitely-
couldn't speak. Like, did you, like, you were
You
there,
definitely
like,
need
I
it more than
couldn't
anyone.
speak.
Because the people who
I was like,
always...
suppress
yeah.
it.
I was like that.
But you know what I loved about yesterday is your humour throughout, because it can get really heavy in the
Absolutely,
sessions.
Yeah.
So it kept breaking the heaviness in the air, and it was really lovely.
Oh yeah, well I got back, like I had like such a busy week in the sense that it was quite heavy, and it's like right before my period, and I'm like so, you know, like all there.
Charged.
Yeah, like I'm so charged, like I'm even like shouting at Albert, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
Mommy's before her period, I'm so sorry. It's like,
I
"It's
feel
okay,
it.
Mommy."
I
I
feel
said
the
that, I
same.
said that
I've
to
got my
Albert.
period
Yeah.
this week.
So it was this pattern where I would get upset, right? And I was like, why am I getting upset at certain times of the month? And then, you know, I'm
There you
tracking
go.
it with an
So
app.
true.
And then I realized it was a pattern right before my period. And then I sat Albert down and I said, look, you know about periods. He knows about it. I explained to him. But also it affects, you know, who we are as like hormones and, you know, the chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I
Well, my ex had a period
So I-
3 weeks in a month.
So I had to explain to him, like, I'm not doing it because I'm not upset with him. I'm just, you know, it just comes out as, and then I calm down.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
said, oh, I understand. It's okay. You know, he's a very understanding child.
I think kids are just like that. They're innocent anyway.
Also,
As
if you
long-
apologize,
listen,
like, it
but
was your
that's-
fault.
But that's the thing. I always, because I never had, and I've mentioned this before in other comments, I never had the apology from my parents, like, oh, you know what, I wronged you here, sorry, you know, maybe
Yeah.
overreacted.
Yeah.
It's just a different mentality.
yeah.
I'm not blaming them. That's just the way.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
what
they
they thought
knew.
was right.
That's how it was. It's just a generational thing.
Yeah.
But with my son, I'm very conscious. Like if I wronged him, like if I snapped at him or I'm in a bad mood or something, I'll say, you know what, I'll take ownership and I'll
Yeah.
say sorry, and
Yeah.
they appreciate it. That's why they're so receptive.
It actually
and
builds their
understanding.
confidence.
It does,
Yeah.
because then you're not like belittling them. You're not making
Yeah.
them small. It's just because I'm a kid, I don't count.
Yes.
That's my
Yeah.
personality or
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
And they grow up to become healthy individuals, with confidence. You know,
Yeah,
their
and also
self-esteem
they
up.
know when to say sorry. They know
Absolutely.
when they have
It's
to
not
make a
that
mistake.
ego thing.
Yeah,
It's like I did wrong. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So
I like
and I
my
tell
mom
him this.
when I was
Don't mommies and daddies are not perfect, you know.
Yeah.
So
We're
we're like
human beings.
human
But when I was
beings.
little, if my mom did something, it's like, I gave birth to you, I can put you underneath me and sit on you for 1 2.
Yeah,
See,
no.
but that's a generational
Yeah,
thing.
it
you
is.
know?
Like my parents never
Much of us-
apologize either. But because of that, this is like because I live with them, right? So my mom is always like looking at me, like what I'm saying, what I'm doing. She's kind of like learning. She said she's learning too, like I learned from her, right? And I told her at one point, I said to her, you do not know how to say sorry, and you're always blaming someone else for what you're doing. Like it's never your fault, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, it's because it's someone else's fault, right? And it just happened this week. She did like two things. Like she blamed me for two different things, right? Every time it came out that it was my dad, not me, right? Or like I was right, like, but she just didn't believe me, right? She was
Yeah.
like so focused on it was my fault, she didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And then I came home one morning from work, and she's like, so I asked your dad, and he said it was him. And, you know, I told him we were actually having a little fight because I didn't believe you, not because something was done. And I was like, see, so you can trust me. And then I look at her like, and what do we say now? And she was like, sorry.
See, we need to re-educate our parents. I tell you, trust me,
Yeah,
go
but
through
it's
that.
funny because, you know, growing up, like you said, they didn't know any better. And like I said
Yeah,
before,
it's
right,
not
we're
about-
doing the
it's
best
not-
we can with the knowledge we have at this point in
Absolutely.
time. So
Yeah,
I think
cool.
it's for all of us. And we need to remember our parents are actually people before their parents.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Like we are.
They've been through their own
Yeah.
traumas, and it's not only with the parents. Like I had a lot of takeaways in my relationship after, in hindsight, I had to face like where did I fail in the sense of apologizing, taking ownership. There's a lot of things. So I'm like, okay, this is the things that I don't want to bring down to my son. Like this is where
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to make a difference.
What happened to you want to make better.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
makes sense, you know. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe to follow our stories and our conversations. Get in touch with us and let us know what you think. Until next time, have a lovely day, my friends.